Same situation, different life.
Yeah, yeah.
But or Tipi told about a friend who told her to say the mantra.
Yeah, yeah.
Just one advice from a
Yeah.
Sangha friend, it changes the mind.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you forget.
Right, you forget in that one. That's so true. You would probably give the same advice to this person, but in your own case, you forget. Very good. Sometimes what is also helpful, when you're in a situation when you have trouble, you think, what would I tell someone if they were in that situation, what they should do? I have very good advice, but I don't keep the advice. So then I go, oh, that's what okay, and then I try to do it. But I think it's very important what Leora brought up. There's two aspects really. There's our own personal practice, and there's to apply it on a daily basis. I think one aspect I want to mention also on top of what you just said about your daily practice, we sometimes feel it's boring because there's something missing. What is missing? The deep, really the meaning of the words. So we've got so used to it because we do it on a daily basis. So to really make a point as if you did it for the first time, to have these emotions arise. What was very helpful to me, I know it sounds really bizarre, but I listened to a program on the radio one day, and it was about a woman who had a near-death experience, and she said she met God. Okay? Now, I don't know. She met some being there. I don't think, maybe, I don't know what it was, but I believe, these great enlightened beings manifest in different ways. And the way she described this being, she said it was beyond anything I've ever seen. It was beyond my five senses. It was greater than any color, any, and it was so beautiful to hear her talk. It was from her heart, and I thought, this is how I should think of the Buddha. I think of like a painted person who's always in the same position, who's like that, and it's like, I don't even have a feeling what Buddha means. It's some kind of flat guy on the wall, or a bronze thing, right? There's no real sense of what Buddha means. So of course it's boring. The Buddha is in face in front of you. I mean, and then I thought of how she described it. It was so full of emotion. This being full of love and wisdom and purity and rays of light, and you felt so protected. And that's how I integrated that in my practice. Instead of having this kind of picture in front of me, I remembered the words she described in this, like this being so full of light, and you feel filled with this love and compassion. And then it was fun. It was fun to do it because it really gave it, and I didn't make it up. Previously my practice was making it up. That's not really what's there. It's just some kind of boring Buddha sitting there without moving, with a begging bowl that, slowly grows dusty kind of idea. We need to really check what we do. So to bring joy in the practice, even if this is the same again and again, just think of, or if you ever have met His Holiness at a time when you were so moved, there was an emotion that is undescribable, or with anyone else, bring up that emotion. Because you're not faking it. That is really what these beings, when we really encounter them, these are the emotions we really experience. To imagine the most amazing, beautiful, perfect person, full of love, full of compassion, and then think that the Buddha is even 10,000,000 times greater. But that's already enough for this feeling of joy to arise, a deep kind of joy. And then you want to do it again. So every day you have to make an effort. Otherwise, sometimes you don't have the time, you just go do, right? But when you have the time, when you have the space of mind, it's not the words, it's the visualization. So whatever helps you to get a sense of that love, of that inspiration, to be really inspired. Yeah, that's why the lamas are so amazing. Just being in their presence, there's something beyond. Like Shuki said it very beautifully when I met Shuki, when he talked about meeting Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he said, there's just something, there's something there, he's not ordinary. You get a sense there's something there beyond, it's kind of beyond that person. I don't know his exact words, but somehow to this effect, like, he's just pretending to be an ordinary person. There's someone really big there. So when you think of that, it's so inspiring, because we can be like that. And the reason you visualize them is only to become like that. So then you get in touch with your own incredible potential. And it goes beyond the ordinary. And that's, I think, when I understand the idea of divine pride as opposed to seeing everything as ordinary. In Tantra, we talk about we see things as ordinary, and that is our main problem. Everything is just so ordinary and boring and normal. So we bring all that ordinariness into our practice. So even if we do like deity practice, forget about divine pride. I'm just an ordinary Buddha, standing around. You know, it's kind of like, we don't even have a feeling for that. It's like ordinary. It's just, yeah. And then it's boring. Of course it's boring, especially if you do it over and over every day. So I think it's really important to bring in that kind of beauty, that inspiration, to really think of something that inspires you and then start doing your practice, and it comes automatically.
Yeah. Keep it fresh. Everything.
Exactly.
Also
keep it fresh.
Daily life and everything.
So true.
By
Yeah.
going
Keep
to
it
the
fresh.
dining room, you have so beautiful symptoms away.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to open your eyes. And
This is the artist. She sees
Mm.
whenever I live there. All of a sudden, look at this, and she sees beautiful things.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I have a
amazing.
friend, a
Look at
Greek
the tree.
A Greek nun. She always wants to put up the laundry for everyone because she thinks it's art. What are you talking about?
What?
She wants to put up everyone's laundry. You know, like, I don't know, like, my job is to do the washing machine in the nunnery. So I used to also put the laundry on the washing line, but that's so much work, you know. And whenever she's around, she's like, I'll do it. I like it to put it in, and I like to take it out. But to put each piece on the washing line, I find boring. And I told her one day, and she's like, oh, it's art. Can I do it? And I'm like, sure, here's the key.
It's so hard to put it in and out. It's also part of the art.
No, that part, it's okay. But that's my job, I have to do something. But
You're like, she searched what it is for you.
right. But you see, this is like, yeah, so this is beautiful. Like, we can find that kind of beauty, the freshness in things. Children are a good example. You know, something is so ordinary, they see so beautiful. Right? Okay, anyway. To come back to diligence. So, the diligence is seen as one of the most important paramitas, actually. And we have only a little time to discuss it. But it's one of the most important mental factors we need to cultivate because it's important for all the other ones. Because to practice generosity, we need diligence. To practice, and of course, we need all the other ones also for each of the remaining paramitas. But this in particular is said to be associated with all of them in order to practice diligently. So joy and enthusiasm, we need to find joy in it. And of course, there's so many ways of finding joy in seeing what's really behind it, the goal. And even the practice itself can be very joyful. Meditation itself can be very joyful if you can just let go. Right? Having expectations should be like this, it should be like that. So just do it. And that in itself can be very joyful. So anyways, diligence here is said to provide us with energy and determination to prevail. It helps us to cultivate new qualities and to increase the good qualities we already have cultivated. So very, very important, right? To find this joy. Okay. So how to do it, the methods for doing it, how to begin it, is to cultivate an understanding of Buddhism. The better understanding of Buddhism. So, but again, we learn not just to learn the facts, but to see how Buddhism fits in our own life, to see the truth in our own life, the impermanence, the interdependence and so forth. And when we start seeing this, then things start clicking together. It all makes sense. Yeah, it makes more sense, more and more sense. And slowly, it makes a lot of sense to overcome our afflictions, and it makes a lot of sense to accumulate positive actions and not negative ones. It makes much more sense to generate love and compassion. It makes much more sense to practice patience than to just get angry. It makes so much more sense. And there's much more joy in life. Right? Our level of joy is enhanced. That's what's so beautiful. So we need joy, but by doing it, we get more joyful, which in turn gives us the enthusiasm to go on. But there's a certain level when it's hard. At the beginning, it's difficult. And once you've reached a certain state, then it's relatively easy. I'm thinking it's like true for everything, even in life. You know, like people who've been jogging for years, or like Tsipi as like a yoga teacher. I like the example of the yoga. I mean, now it's not like, oh, I need to do yoga. Oh gosh, you sit there in front of that thing, like the mat. It's like I have to unroll it. You know, it's like that's how I'm right now. I haven't really found the joy. I love when I'm doing it, but when Tsipi is next to me, I really do it. But otherwise, I'm like, you know, check my watch and stuff. So you need to find a joy. You do it every day, and then it's like you don't want to be without it. and it becomes part of you, and then you do it on a daily basis, and you generate a special kind of joy, and you keep doing it. So like bodhisattvas, what else is there to do? I mean, seriously, what else is there to do? Why would waste even 1 minute? Such is the sense.
I have a question.
Yes.
A general question. If
Yes.
it's not fit, then
Yes.
from what I heard,
Mhm.
you said now that it's important to know Buddhism.
Yes. To know.
Many of us think know to Buddhism, they know the tenets, and know the philosophy and all this.
Yeah.
And the way of the Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattvacharya Avatar,
Yeah.
I heard it's not a developed text. And the Dalai Lama, in his great attitude, went to study it, and he talks about it, but it's not in the when you learn
Curriculum.
Buddhism in the monasteries.
Uh-huh.
Only because Dalai Lama adopted it. Is it true? Is it because
No, but you see, Shantideva's Bodhisattva way of life is not part of the curriculum that you study in class, because no one needs to explain this to you. You read it, you understand it. Except the what is it, the 9th chapter.
So, but you were talking about it.
Yeah. But people explain. That's why you get teachings on it. I don't think that's true. I think the as far
When
as
you
I
say, if you
Yeah.
would say to an audience, you need to learn Buddhism in order to develop diligence.
yeah.
So they will learn the tenets and go to university in the West where you can learn Buddhism. They will not hear about.
Of course they will. It's in every text that's mentioned. I mean, in most, we always cite Shantideva. Shantideva is one of the texts that's cited the most. So I don't think, like, also to study Buddhism. Oh, so the question is, and it's a good question, it's an important question, because people misunderstand what it means to study Buddhism. So what we've heard right now is like, for diligence, we need to study Buddhism. But it doesn't necessarily mean you need to do a formal study, go to university. Our sense in the West, it's not like that in Tibetan. In the West, we think study has to be formal study, it's academic, you take exams, etc. The word study in Buddhism, in the Buddhist context, means you learn, you read, you get more. You integrate it, of course. You learn and integrate. So you discuss it with one another. You just get more understanding. That's it. So in a formal setting, for example, in the monastic institutions, there are certain topics that are very difficult to understand without a teacher. So those are part of the curriculum. But then your teachers always talk about Lamrim. The Lamrim is not officially taught because you can read it and understand it. If you do the formal studies, you can read the Lamrim. But they always say, study the Lamrim, study the Lamrim. And you don't need someone who takes you through all the words, because that's what you need to do with like the Abhisamya Alamkara, for example. You read it, it's like reading Chinese, right? You can read it on your own and still understand it. So, but actually, when you do the formal study, you do it in order to be able to read the Lamrim on your own, in order to read the Bodhisattva way of life on your own. Of course, you can't read the Bodhisattva Chayatara on your own initially, just because you don't know the words, the vocabulary, it's new. But once you learn the vocabulary, you read it and it's easy in Tibetan. In English, it's never been difficult. If you know English, you can read it. So my point is here that if I think of the monks, you know, like the monk in the monasteries, the monks and nuns, they all read Shantideva. I mean, they memorize it. In fact, in Tibet, it was always memorized. You memorize the whole text. So many of the older monks have memorized Shantideva's text. So if you've memorized it, I mean, if you memorize one verse, you don't understand it initially. By way of memorizing, you actually get to understand it. If you recite it again and again and again, before you know, you understand the verse. So I would totally disagree, because traditionally in Tibet, monks and nuns memorized the Bodhisattva Chayatara. It's one of the texts, and many of my classmates knew it by heart. That was one of the first things they learned in Tibet, to memorize the Bodhisattva Chayatara. So no, it's really seen as very important text.
When they were children?
Yeah, when they were young, when they were children. So I remember, like in class, my teacher again, Getzela, he would say, doesn't it say that in the Bodhisattva Chayatara? And there was one monk called Punsok, not Israeli Punsok,
Tibetan.
Tibetan called Punsok. And he would look at him what is the verse? And they would go, that's the verse, and then we continue the class. So it was very convenient. Yeah. Okay. So the method for engaging the practice of diligence is to cultivate an understanding of Buddhism, Buddhist philosophy, and of Buddhism. I mean, then we understand fully what the whole purpose is. Okay. So how does it benefit us? What are the advantages, etc.? Yeah. So Maitreya, for example, I really like this verse. So if you have diligence, you cannot be defeated by wealth. If you have diligence, you cannot be defeated by afflictions. If you have diligence, you cannot be defeated by discouragement. And if you have diligence, you cannot be defeated by attainments. That is Maitreya in his Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, well, the ornament for the Mahayana Sutras. There's also another verse here. It takes too long to read it. 3 verses, but they're here. If I send you the material, you can read it. And it means like if you have diligence, you cannot be defeated by wealth. We in this world are usually very much defeated by wealth. We're you know, especially in the 21st century. I mean, if you look around, and I'm not talking about the people here in this group, but the greatest virtue is to become rich, is to make money. Most people are, you know, very much interested in having a good job that gives them enough money. So wealth, or a certain degree of wealth, is seen as something desirable. That's what they take refuge in, as Tsipi said it. So they take refuge in wealth, for example. So so diligence does not defeat. You cannot be defeated by wealth. You cannot be enticed by wealth if you have diligence. Then, from the point of view of a person who doesn't just think of this life and next life, they're not defeated by the afflictions. So if you have diligence, you cannot be defeated by afflictions. A bodhisattva, if they have diligence, they cannot be defeated by discouragement, because you may be discouraged working for the benefit of all sentient beings. And then those bodhisattvas who've attained certain attainments, they cannot, if they have diligence, they cannot be defeated by attainments. It's not holding on to attainments and realizations, they're able to even let go of that. So I thought that was a beautiful verse. There's nothing, if you have great diligence, free from discouragement, there's nothing you cannot attain and accomplish. There's really nothing. I mean, no state, I mean, of course, cannot become omnipotent, that state, even if you're, but, you know, in terms of the states that are possible to attain, there's nothing we cannot attain. The faults of diligence, of course, are, well, no enlightenment, no good qualities. I mean, in everyday life, if we are lazy, that's a problem. So diligence really is the opposite of that.
I'm still a bit different. Maybe is it possible to accept this interpretation? Not be defeated by wealth or by attainment. I thought it meant when Bodhisattva reaches a certain attainment, like he realizes directly impermanence, he says, okay, that's enough. I don't have need to work further. I don't have to work to go further. It's too difficult. I could be. So he's not defeated by attainment, like achieving the attainment, because he's diligent. Same with wealth. I've got enough money. I don't need to practice Buddhism. But if I have diligence, it will not defeat me. So
didn't I say that?
No.
About the wealth?
I'm asking if this is acceptable interpretation.
So with the attainment, like the way I explained it just now was like you don't get, it's like you feel there's more to do. You're not defeated by attainment, that you become complacent. The danger is when you reach a certain state, you become complacent, you feel like, okay, I've done this, you become attached to that, and in the sense that that's it. So you don't want to go on. If you have diligence, you feel, no, this is just...
So it's the same thing, I misunderstood.
Ah, okay. No. What I meant was we're not, so we're not, what did I say here? Importance of diligence for practitioners who have progressed on the path. However, without diligence, they're in danger of becoming complacent and conceited, feeling full of themselves, or of simply giving up their practice and enjoying their accomplishment. So that's important, therefore. Okay. All right. So what we here, there's so much else I kind of go into here. So the categories of diligence, you can read through this. It's very self-explanatory. But there are 2 subtopics of the categories of diligence, the actual categories and the method for cultivating diligence. So Diligence is divided into armor-like diligence, diligence of gathering virtue, and diligence of working for the welfare of sentient beings. So the last two are very similar to the patience, the ethical discipline of gathering virtue and working for the welfare of sentient beings. That's the same. Is that the right division? Yeah. Restraint, gathering virtue. Yeah. So here's quite similar with regard to those latter two, but the first one is the armor-like diligence. Armor-like, you always hear this word armor-like. Have you ever heard, or have you noticed this word armor-like, armor like this, armor like that? What does it mean, armor? No, I know what it means, but what does it mean in the Buddhist context? I mean, I'm trying...
Protection from afflictions.
What is that refuge? What does it refer to? No, what does that protection refer to? It's not refuge. What does it refer to? What is the armor like? What does armor in the Buddhist context usually mean?
Here in this context, I think it protects you to continue on the road, not to give up.
Give me another word for armor.
Protection.
No. Motivation. Armor usually refers to the motivation. Motivation is, I mean, we could call, you're right when you say refuge is also an armor. You're right when you say accumulating virtue.
Motivation is a refuge.
Okay, you can say that too. Today everything becomes refuge. No, but you're right, in a way you could say that. But I'm saying, in general, when we say armor, it means motivation. The thing that protects us the most, as in like protecting us from anything, is seen as the motivation, right? So, therefore, but of course we could use the word differently too, but if you, from now on, if you know armor-like diligence, it refers to a diligence in connection to motivation. So our motivation, our intention to do something. So it's a type of motivating force. Armor-like diligence is a type of motivating force that provides the armor against feeling lazy, weary, and disheartened. Okay, because the obstacle. What is the problem? What's the word? The counter force of diligence. It's laziness. But laziness is often misunderstood. We think laziness means to just not want to do anything. That's not laziness. That is not laziness.
More.
Yeah, procrastination. But like usually when you say I'm lazy, it means I don't want to do anything. Right? Doesn't even necessarily mean I procrastinate. I can be lazy and say I'm never going to do it. I'm lazy. Right? So, but here laziness is described in a particular way. We will come to this. Anyway, so diligence, armor-like diligence is therefore a motivating force, as it refers to our motivation. So it's saying that since we're up against an extremely mighty, influential and resistant inner enemy, we require a strong armor, which require very strong determination, which is kind of motivation, determination, motivation. And so Lamrim Chenmo describes armor-like diligence as a preliminary motivation, thinking, for instance, for 1 trillion sets of 3 countless eons, each composed of days as long as 1,000 great eons, I shall not relinquish my practice of diligence. For the sake of relieving the suffering of a single sentient being, I would rejoice at remaining only as a hell being until I attain Buddhahood. That kind of diligence. I'd be a hell being until I become a Buddha. Right? Of course, it's not possible, but that's the kind of determination here, the kind of motivation. So, no matter what the difficulty is, I'll be there, I'll hang in there. That's the armor-like diligence. So, and here in this context, I thought it may be interesting, because it mentions eons. What is an eon? How long is an eon? Very long, right? But actually I thought, and this, I don't know, for some reason I wrote this down here, so there's several explanations of the types of eons and their duration. So in Sanskrit it's called kalpa. There are 4 types of eons: a regular eon, a small eon, a medium eon, and a great eon. Okay? A regular eon is approximately 16 million years. A small eon is 16 billion years. A medium eon is the equivalent of 20 small eons, or 320 billion years. And a great eon is 4 medium eons, or 1.28 trillion years.
And what is the expression countless eons?
Countless.
Countless eons, like great?
Okay, wait. Many of the sutric scriptures explain that bodhisattvas have to accumulate merit for 3 countless great eons. So one great eon is 1.238 trillion years, and then you have countless. Now, here countless does not literally mean incalculable, but it is the name of a number. In the Indian system, 10 to the 16th power, in other words, 1 and 16 zeros, is called countless.
For me, it's all the same.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of a lot. So 1.28 trillion years multiplied by 1,000,000, multiplied by 10 to the 16th power. That's a countless eon. Never mind. I thought if you're interested.
So it's not next week.
No, it takes a little bit.
Almost.
Not even not next life.
Yeah, not even that. So, but for a bodhisattva, it doesn't matter how long it takes. I think the whole point is to go like however long it takes. Give some bizarre number that is totally beyond us and say, well, it's going to take that long. If we really have incredible love and compassion, we want to get there quicker for the benefit of others. But as long as we don't reach that, it's better to think it's going to take a long time. Let's take a step at a time. So we don't jump, we don't get impatient, we don't check on our success all the time. Okay. So, anyway, this you find here in this material. So, that's the first type of diligence. So, the sense of like, due to our diligence, there's no loss of courage and determination. This armor-like diligence is particularly important in the beginning, since it's the motivating force that enables practitioner to persevere despite the difficulties that lie ahead. No matter what, I'm going to do this. That's armor-like diligence, right? It's that determination, it's that kind of motivation, that motivating force. Then there's the diligence of gathering virtue. So like a warrior, after having prepared the armor, now you need to gather up your weapons. Now you have to, So likewise, having generated the determination, I'm going to do this no matter what, whatever else I have to do, my life will be the Dharma, I will do this. Then you start accumulating virtue, to accumulate virtue. So to actually engage in the action of accumulating positive karma with enthusiasm, so to practice the 10 virtues, selflessness, love, compassion, and so forth. And then there's lastly the diligence of working for the benefit of sentient beings, which is an even higher state. So you can see how one is the basis for the other. You need to start with armor-like diligence, then gathering virtue, and then you get to working for the welfare of sentient beings. So there's so many different types of numerous sentient beings and so many different ways of benefiting them. There's a list of 11 types of sentient beings. You can read those. And they're the same as last time. Activities directed towards sentient beings who need immediate and direct help, extraordinary, miraculous help, all those are mentioned again. You can read them. Now, the method for cultivating diligence, that's important now, because we need to face the obstacles. We need to face the unfavorable conditions that prevent diligence. Okay. All right, so what does it say here? There are four subtopics to generating or cultivating diligence. First is eliminating unfavorable conditions. That's important. Gathering the forces of favorable conditions. Based on the elimination of unfavorable conditions and the accumulation of favorable conditions, being intent on and diligence, and how to use diligence to make the mind and body serviceable. Does that make sense? Those different points. You can read them again, but basically overcoming unfavorable conditions, generating favorable conditions, having done so being intent on diligence, and how to use diligence to make mind and body serviceable. Because we need this mind and body to do what we want it to do. That's hard. Okay. Eliminating unfavorable conditions, identifying the factors that are unfavorable or incompatible, and employing the methods to eliminate them. So this is really important. There are 3 factors, 3 types of laziness described here, but I think there are more. Here, only 3. One is the laziness of procrastination. Oh, I'll start tomorrow. When I have more time, when I finish this job, after I painted the fence, after I there's no end. We always procrastinate. Tomorrow. So that's procrastination. And then the other type is not procrastinating, but being attached to inferior or common activities, right? Oh, I just want to watch a movie now. It's much more fun. I want to read a novel. I want to go out and have a good meal. So attachment to things, I mean, we can make those Dharma practice, but we usually don't. I mean, we can actually use everything for Dharma practice, but we